Welcome to Jaunty Haunts, the podcast about all things supernatural. After 30 years of keeping a secret, I'm finally ready to share with the world that I see ghosts. Yep, I've been having conversations with the other side while trying to keep up appearances. This podcast is all about getting spooky and connecting with others who might also sense, see, or feel things beyond the ordinary. We'll swap true tales of the seen and unseen, and maybe even laugh about the weird stuff we've experienced. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, come join me as we explore the paranormal. Let's connect, share, and maybe feel a little less crazy together. Welcome to Jaunty Haunts.
Hey listeners, welcome to Jaunty Haunts, Season 2, Episode 8, Part 1. I'm so excited for this episode because we're diving into a topic that blends the mystical with the practical, the ancient with the intuitive, holistic healing. Joining me today is my dear friend Caroline Whelehan. She is someone that is known for her deep, earthy wisdom and soulful understanding of health, energy, and healing. Today, we're exploring the connections between Halloween, witches, and wellness, not just the broomstick riding, potion brewing side, but also the real-life magic of physiology, biology, and energetic flow. It might sound a little woo-woo, but isn't that what this podcast is? There's something beautifully paranormal about how energy works in the body, how emotions can manifest physically, and how ancient healing practices keep showing up in modern wellness trends. You can find Caroline on Instagram and on her website. Both are linked in the show notes below, so be sure to check those out. Listeners, light a nice candle, grab your favorite mug of something herbal, and settle in, because this conversation is about to stir the cauldron. Let's get into it. The CASPER rating of this episode is 1.
It's so good to see you, first of all. I'm so happy to be here and be taking the time to get together and say hi and talk about the spooky stuff. Welcome to the pod, Caroline Whelehan. Yes, Caroline was one of the first few people as season 1 of Jaunty Haunts was going to reach out personally and be like, I'm listening and it's so fun. So that I can't tell you how much that meant to me as somebody who has been pouring blood, sweat, and tears into this thing and just throwing it to the void, right? And being like, I hope somebody likes this. So I thank you for listening.
Oh my gosh, I'm loving it. I was telling someone the other day, I'm like, I love spooky stuff, so I listen to a lot of spooky podcasts, and I was like, my friend's podcast is my favorite of all the spooky ones.
Oh,
It was like I was not trying to formulate anything. I was just like, this is the best one. It's so good. So I'm happy to be on. Yeah,
I really appreciate that, and I've been trying to find a way to get you on, right? Because I know my woo-woo bells were kind of like, get Caroline on, repeatedly, and that's why I was like, I do want to actually have her on. And I remember you were like, I don't know exactly what we'll talk about, I have a few things, but I was like, no, it's gonna be great. So thank you for joining us.
I love your trust and confidence. Yeah. I knew that we would just you're so juicy. I could talk to you forever.
Juicy.
You're like a spiritually juicy gal. So
I love that.
So
spiritually juicy gal. So we're going to get into the spooky stuff first a little bit. And then I would love to talk, methods of healing. I think I mentioned to you this episode is going to be a lot about physical, spiritual, emotional healing and sort of how it pertains to real world stuff and paranormal stuff. It's a bit of a departure from, I'll say, maybe the normal topics, but me, this show isn't always just about bone chilling scares. It's we're connecting with each other and talking about very real stuff. And as somebody who has mentioned on the pod a few times that I have chronic illness stuff and wellness stuff, I was on a personal note and a listener note, I think it'll be fun to talk about how and where these things kind of meet for different people and how they practice it. So that's why I really wanted to have you on. But before we get into that, I'm going to rewind. I'm going to read you what I wrote a few months ago when I first started thinking about you. And I thought it was so silly, but I wrote, so you were a spooky girl when I met you. I remember your bedroom at PCPA. You had black feathers and bundles of wood, truly inspired inspiring, like witchy designs. So would you consider yourself a quote unquote spooky girl?
Oh my gosh, of course. Like, of course I'm a spooky girl. I love all spooky things. Like yeah, always since I was a little girl. Like just yeah, absolutely 100%.
Amazing. And I feel like there might even be a photo, if you'd be willing to share, of like you when you were young in like an amazing witch costume, right? You were like 5 or something?
I was, yes, of course. I actually used to run around my house in a witch dress with the broom. I would make my little brother, who's 3 years younger than me, I would make him listen to spooky music and sit on a broom with me in the dark. Like, I swear to you,
Just like
I
pretending
just,
to be flying or
yes. And I would go, ooh, like as like a ghosty sound. Yes, yes,
it's so fun.
yes.
Was he like
Yeah.
into it or was he like, can we
No,
like
he was
play like Power Rangers or something?
totally scared. Like he had a blank stare on his face. Like I was totally scaring him because I was probably 5 or
Yeah.
like 6. He was like 2 or 3,
Yeah.
and I would sit there on the beanbag with the broom, and I would be like, "Okay, Ty, we're gonna play witch now," and he would be like, "Oh," he was
He's
scared.
like, oh.
Yeah, he was totally freaked out by me.
Amazing. Okay. Well, amazing first answer there. It kind of actually already answered my second one, but if there's anything you want to add of like, when did you start liking like witchy stuff, spooky stuff, ghosty stuff? Was there like a certain show you watched or pop culture influence or something that made you go like, oh, this is it as like a young kid? Do you remember what it was?
Absolutely. The Casper movie with Hilary Duff. Do you
Yes.
remember?
Uh-huh. When they're like at the hotel and like there's like a pool or something and she's like the red outfit.
She has the red outfit.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes, yes. Yeah, so for sure, that was probably the first exposure that I had to anything like witchy. And I mean, I was just enthralled. Like I loved it. And my parents, like they're not like spooky people. Like they don't care about the paranormal. Like,
Right.
they're just not really, that was all me. Like that was my and being like, my mom used to tell me like, do not bring anything creepy. Like don't bring any creepy energy into my house. Like don't do anything weird.
Oh
Don't
my
summon
God.
anything. I just always loved it. So definitely Casper. And then as I was a little bit older, like Halloween,
Yes.
Disney Channel, Hocus Pocus, like all of that witchy, sort of the whimsical feminine energy of witches.
Yes.
Yeah, the witch archetype.
Yeah.
Like the powerful, beautiful, like seductive, kind of shadowy, but also really glamorous witch. Like
Yes.
immediately, just when I was exposed to that, I was like, that I get that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
It is. It's like this alluring sort of like mystery of the woods, but also glamour going on of just like whatever that is, I want it and I want to be it. Yeah, I would love to if you don't mind. Would you just talk to us sort of about like what, if anything, do you believe exactly? Like when it comes to ghosts, cryptids, aliens, yada yada yada. Because I feel like a lot of us cherry pick kind of like based on personal experience. Like what are kind of your things that you're like, this is definitely real and this is like not, if so.
Okay, so I certainly think that there's paranormal activity around us all the time. I heard this beautiful metaphor one time. Somebody was talking, I think it was a metaphor about sort of comforting someone when their loved one had passed.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying, when there's a baby in the womb and the baby doesn't exist on the earth yet, but their spirit is like less than an inch away from you, but it's
Wow.
not right.
Right.
And how that can be applied also to any soul or spirit, right? We can be this
Wow.
away from really any energy or anything or anyone at any time and not know, right? Because we can't
Yes.
see tangibly. And so that I would say that's how I feel about like spirit. I
I love
certainly
that.
think there are, yeah, that really moved me when I heard it too, because it's so comforting. I
Yes.
think if you've lost someone or, if you're trying to connect with someone or something that's beyond you or maybe this earth um in a tangible way.
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful metaphor for like, yeah, just feeling the presence of them. So I certainly feel that.
Mm-hmm.
I am fascinated with aliens, cryptids, all of that stuff, but I have spent less energy
Mm-hmm.
on imagining them being near or, thinking about pondering their existence.
Right.
I think it's really fun and it's like, I'm of course interested, and some of the alien stuff that you've talked about on your pod,
Yeah.
I have thought it was super spooky.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't had any of my own experiences though. But I certainly like watch things about like aliens and people losing several hours at a time,
Yes.
getting placed back in kind of just slightly the wrong spot or
Right.
whatever. And of course I believe that 100%. So yeah.
I like that. I really like that. The ghost and spirit like metaphor and example you gave was really, really beautiful. I've never heard that. So that was really cool to think about. And then as far as everything else, it seems like general, like just openness, right? Like we don't know, but
Don't
yeah, a fascination, a good, gentle fascination. I would love to jump into the work that you do now and talk about this because we've talked a little bit about, spirit and then witchcraft in general and like sort of the fascination with it. And I want to know how what you practice, kind of, I don't like the word bleeds, but like pairs well or is inspired by more spiritual or ideological or intentional ways of being and how you can help and heal people. So, my first question is just about your personal journey, right? Like, how did your personal health challenges or personal challenges influence your decision to become a holistic health coach, and how do they shape your approach to client wellness?
Amazing question. So I've always been into wellness because I've always, again, that I think just as you were talking about the that energetic of the archetype of the witch, it's a it's healing, it's outcast living in the woods working with herbs, like it's all very like romantic and enchanting. It's
Yeah.
really, yeah. So in those ways, I was always interested in wellness. And I happened to, for many years of my life, have a really difficult time with my relationship to food and exercise, and just sort of spent a lot of years, I think, detaching from my body, like really not being in my body, in my
Right.
instrument, and also having like severe anxiety. And as a performer, like that was really challenging for me. Like
Yeah.
I was just like obsessed with my instrument not being prepared. Like my body not being right, my voice always was freaking out. My voice is going to be gone, or I'm not going to have my instrument to use, or I'm going to go up on stage and not be able to sing, or just not, like, I think a lack of safety and
Mm.
trust in my own body and instrument. So that grew over the years. It started as, disordered eating and just over exercising, like in high school and in college, like just really overdoing it and pushing my body a lot and not feeling well and being really inflamed. And then kind of those fears that I had of like really breaking down. Like we all have this thing that we catastrophize, right? Like
Yes.
my instrument, I'm going to be like, for me, I get like rashes and
Yes.
skin issues, and my voice was so fragile, and like that catastrophe in my head about like my worst fear is like I'm in front of everybody and I just like break out into hives and I can't sing and I just like melt to the floor. And I
Yes.
think those, yeah, just all of those crazy fears just really, it was starting to break down my physical body. Like I
Right.
was really, my nervous system was totally, shot.
Yeah.
I was really, really in fight or flight for years. And actually when I met my partner, who's amazing, he's really spiritual. And
Cool.
he is just, yeah, he's a healer too. He is a shiatsu massage therapist, and
Wow.
yeah, he's from Italy. He's like this amazing man. He really changed my whole relationship to the earth and my own instrument and body. And so when I met him, I think he allowed me to feel safe.
Yeah.
And then I felt sort of all of those deep, fears about my body just not, being
Performing, quote
strong,
unquote,
not
or
being able, yeah, like
yeah.
not being able to trust my body. I was just able to slow down and like actually build that connection from the
Right.
ground up, um, and connect back to the earth,
Yes.
which is, to me, that's like what safety is. Like grounding with, like on the beach, on the sand, or like on the
My God.
grass.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that whole journey sort of shaped my interest and eventually becoming a holistic health coach, which then I went to this program called the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and I studied for like a year and did this whole certification, and that was really amazing. And I'm able to coach clients now, but I think that so much of it's all about like, it's like food and like supplements and all these things, but it's
Yeah.
also so much more than that. It's
Yeah.
like about creativity and, intuition and intentionality and like connecting with the earth and grounding your nervous system and all of that. So yeah, that was my like arc of how like witchcraft,
Yeah.
I guess, and like connecting with the elements, which is kind of what witchcraft is, right?
Right.
It's like using the elements of water and fire and air and earth to manifest and perform rituals and bring things about
Yes.
in our tangible world. um that was kind of how all of those things were connected for me.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing your journey with that and your story. And it was
Nice.
bringing up memories. I remember during like, we did Pirates of Penzance and, like you'd get like rashes on your skin and you'd be like, I don't know why.
Horrible.
I don't know what's happening. And it was like this enigma. And I could see like the stress it would bring you. And I was like, oh my goodness. And even there, I remember you were doing like the acupuncture and other things to try to help. But I think, from what it sounds like, and I think from what I'm learning, right, as like a 30, almost 31-year-old woman, is like so much healing we have to do starts with like us making the decision from within. And obviously there is like physical ailments and disease and issues that like we do need to pair with, Western medication and things to solve, but
Of
it's
course,
like
yeah.
so much about our mindset, right? And like knowing that like fear was such a driving factor there, how that can truly affect your body. That thank you for
Fear.
sharing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The fear is like, it's ruling your life. Like it really
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much more I want to talk about with that, but I feel like I don't want to make it about me, so I'm going to keep going with my questions for now. Because
Oh, I want to know like all of your whole story with your wellness journey and everything
oh
too.
my gosh, girl, I have so much more to do, right? Like, I mean, you can even see like I've worked 6 days this week, and I didn't want to. Like, I just took on too much,
Mhm.
and I didn't eat well today, and like I'm just like I'm puffy. My face is puffy, and like you can feel like my throat is puffy. Like everything is swollen and everything is inflamed. And what did I have for dinner? I had a Shake Shack. I had a burger and soda and fries. And this
Mhm.
morning I had a leftover like waffle from the cafe portion that I work at. And then I was like, Courtney, you didn't have any protein today. You didn't have any fiber. You didn't have any vegetables. And then it's like, oh, I don't
Yeah.
I don't feel great. And it's like, why? So my relationship with food is something I have a long journey of healing to go with, and I know, because with performance, right, with entertainment industry, we all have our vices and issues, especially with the patriarchy and this, this might not be used in the actual show, but I mean, maybe, I don't know, like, it's like, it's this very male owned space, and like
Oh yeah.
our sexuality or our whatever, how we present ourselves and being marketable. I think during the pandemic, I just became such an overeater, and like my weight has just been like, and like hormones and this and that. Blah, blah, blah. So it's weird. It's weird. It's like I'm now finding more balance in life. Not today, obviously, but like knowing how to feed myself and like knowing how that contributes to my energy, not just like energy levels, fuel, go, but like what I'm
Yeah.
bringing to the world has been crazy to realize. Now I just have to work on okay, this is good. This is leading to a different question I'm thinking of like detaching ourselves from these cravings and like things we've grown up with eating. So
Mhm.
with more of like the way that you eat now or like your relationship and view of food in general or what we're taking in,
Mhm.
what do you do when you're like really craving comfort food? Because I see you post like beautiful, amazing, very healthy things, but like if you're ever like, do you ever just crave like Cheetos or like, no, you don't crave it anymore? You know what I mean? Like, how do you work with that kind of those impulses if you get them?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, Court. I totally will eat junk if I want it. You know,
Oh,
I
love it.
think I think it's interesting that you said, right, the comfort of what you've grown up with and like what, that again, it's all about finding the safety. Like I work so much with my clients on just creating safety in the body. And part of that is when you reach for something, you have to decide like, this is my choice. Like, let's say that okay, so I'll give you an example. I love coffee and a treat, right?
Yes.
That's like the freaking best ever.
Yes.
Okay, so every day, right? We at like, 2 p.m. or whatever, it's like I've had
Yes.
my lunch. I'm like, I had this really nutrient dense lunch that is like, hopefully colorful and has a lot of like micronutrients and has enough protein and has this, just as beautiful and okay, so I ate that and I'm like, okay, now what am I gonna have, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's gonna be my juicy treat of the
Right.
day? And sometimes I choose, to have a piece of Hue chocolate, the Hue brand
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
chocolate.
yeah.
That with like peanut butter, or recently I've been having literally a slice of grass-fed butter inside of a date
Oh, yeah,
with
yummy.
salt on it.
Super
So
caramely.
good. Yeah, so good. Or I'll just be like, let me go get a treat from the coffee shop and it's fine. And the
Yeah.
reason that it's fine is because, and for me, I do have like some restrictions still. Like, because of my skin, I have discovered like certain things will trigger
Right.
me. And
Mm-hmm.
that's like my biggest. It's tough when you have an eating disorder and then you find food freedom, but you still have these like, trigger foods that cause inflammation. It's
Right.
like, that's a whole other thing. But for me, like I can't really do eggs and
Mm-hmm.
it's such a bummer because eggs are so nutrient dense. But my long tangent is when I choose to have something that usually I won't, usually I'm not just going to eat like, something that's full of eggs and gluten and dairy because I know that triggers me. I encourage other people, if you can tolerate it, do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want it. But you have to make that choice and say, I am going to do this right now. I'm going to freaking love it. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to, I'm going to chew it. I'm going to smell it. I'm going to experience it fully. And then I'm going to move on from it. Like,
Yeah.
let it go. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
We can't always be perfect. And one small thing is not going to cause like so much inflammation, or unless you're like
Right.
allergic or you have
Sure.
really like, but yeah, like I absolutely indulge in, I mean, I indulge in all foods, right? I indulge in the really healthy stuff and I indulge in the stuff that maybe isn't as supportive to me and my body, but I just move on.
Yeah.
It's like just do it and move on. Who
Right.
cares? The stress that is attached to it is
Yes.
causing more inflammation. So it's like,
Yeah.
who the fuck cares? Let it go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
Just let
love
it
that.
go.
I love that
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so refreshing to hear you talk about that in a way that's not like moral. Like there's not like this good or bad food, right? It's just like maybe one thing supports me better than something else. But like also, I think it's so nice to acknowledge that like in this moment, this might support what I need, like emotionally or
Yep.
celebrating or whatever. It's just like be intentional about it and really
Hmm.
enjoy it. It sounds like, if you're gonna have
Yeah.
something that's like a Snickers or whatever, instead of just like, like,
Oh
like
yeah.
really enjoying it.
Totally.
I love that.
Oh yeah, like own it.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it, own it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not be like, oh, I did a bad thing. It's like, no, move
Yes.
on. You did it. You loved it. Who cares? Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. Sorry, that went on a lot of tangents, but I loved all your answers there. Okay,
Thanks.
great. If you don't mind expanding a little bit, I just wanted to ask, like, how you personally define holistic health and like what role does nutrition play in achieving that overall well-being?
Amazing question. This is like so fun to talk about because it is one tiny piece, right?
Yes.
Um, okay, holistic health to me is treating your whole body as one thing, not a bunch of different systems
Sure.
that work independently.
Okay.
Because okay, I'll talk about for me, like I've said a few times now, and like as you remember, right, when we were going to school together, I get rashes. I mean, they are the worst. Like it is uncomfortable. Makes me feel really anxious. It's all the things, right? And certain people have like stomach problems, or they have like, they get, I don't know, inflammation in other ways or whatever, or they have physical pain in their body or whatever it may be. So, likely when we are experiencing those ailments, let's say, there's not just one thing happening,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not the one food. Sometimes it is, right? And that's great. But usually, sorry babes, it's not,
Yeah.
right? It's not the one food that you can cut out and you say, "Wow, I feel freaking awesome forever now." It's like, no. You
Yeah.
really trust me, as a rash girl, like it is not that, and you have to come to peace with that. It's likely, it may be, your gut health is poor because you have an overactive, your nervous system is in fight or flight, and you don't know how to ground. You're not connected to your yin energy. You are pushing yourself way too hard. This guy that you like sucks, and it's really, it's really making you feel not confident. Like it's all the things, right? It's like maybe you have environmental toxins that you're exposed to.
Right.
Maybe you're using some shitty products that have a lot of disruptors in those, like skin products or whatever that have a lot of fragrance or whatever it may be,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I like to think about it as an inflammation bucket, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the first little bit is like your shitty guy who isn't texting you back, right? And
Right.
it's like creating stress. And
Yeah.
then the second part is like, you know, um, you live in New York City, for example, and there's mold all around you all the time. And so you're getting a mold exposure. And then it's like you have a lot of heavy metals in your food. And then you're sensitive to these four foods that you keep eating, and then you're pushing your body too hard, and then you don't set good boundaries at work, and that's creating a lot of stress for your nervous system. So it piles and piles and piles. And then when the bucket starts to overflow, not just from one thing, but from all those things that are adding up, then you start to get your symptom. And then you're like, oh shit, now I
Right.
have this symptom that sucks, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And you're trying to find that one source. And nutrition, perhaps, right, can be a huge part, but maybe it's really not, you know?
Right. Yeah.
There are
That's
certain people who eat really well and they treat their body really well, but they don't set good boundaries in their life. It's
yeah.
like, you're probably going to have some symptoms, right? True for
Yes.
physical pain in the body too. And that's why, and there's a whole other thing I could talk about, which is this, concept of unprocessed trauma causing physical symptoms in the body and
Yeah.
having to really own those really challenging feelings. And your symptom perhaps is a distraction for you from that challenging feeling that you're scared to feel. So
Yes.
your body creates it so that you focus on the symptom rather than, hating your mom or something, right? And
Yes.
then working through that. And I really owe it to my partner, Stefano, for introducing me to that kind of work too, because
Yeah.
that was really deep work that I had to do to sort of discover that it's the inflammation bucket. Like it's not just one thing. So yeah.
What a beautiful, beautiful metaphor. And like a little like, oh my God, like it really forces us, I think, to, to look inward and be like, oh my God, like you're right. We are so quick to blame any sort of food or anything we eat on any sort of, especially like gut health, even headache or physical pain or whatever. It's like, oh, well, that thing kind of sat wrong with me, da 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 da. And it's like, this is exactly why I wanted to do this with you, because it's like I think there's so much more on the spiritual level, right? Spiritual, however you say. For some people, that's just like God, Jesus, angels, and some people it's like, oh, just ghosts or whatever. For me, spiritual encapsulates kind of what you were saying, like all of the stuff we like can't see, but that is actually very like meaningful to us, right? And this is such a part of it, especially when it comes to healing, working on these things for ourselves so that we can be a better person for ourselves and the people around us at the end of the day. And I think what you do is important. And I think it's stuff that we could all take a lot from in terms of bettering ourselves, especially in a time where we live in, I mean, like, let me get on my soapbox for a second, but like we live in a place and in a country where like we're not valued and like we're not, our best interest physically and emotionally and spiritually is not like something that our leaders care for, that they actively discourage. So we really have to like get on our saddles and like be the ones to take charge of this on our own. So that's also why I feel like this is really important right now. So thank you for everything you just said. So much I think a lot of us can take from that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. This is fun. So how do you incorporate, if at all, like energy practices like Reiki or meditation or things like that into your health coaching sessions, and also like personally, if you do?
Oh yeah, for sure. Usually I start, depending on the moment, usually I will start a session with a client with like a couple of deep grounding breaths just to like begin and reset. I know even for me today, I was like so tired and I was like spaced out and on my screens and everything. And I was like, okay, honey, you need to you need to take a step back. You need to be in your body, like feel the breath moving through your body, feel your fingers, your toes, like body scan, all that stuff. And yeah, that can really, I mean, especially talk about nutrition before eating, right?
Oh, yeah.
Preparing to receive the food, it
Wow.
changes your digestion. It really does. So I certainly incorporate yeah, meditation, body scans, and just deep grounding breaths into my wellness practice for sure. And with my clients, I really encourage people that I'm working with to find the quiet moments in the day to pause and to create a safe space for themselves, right? Because we're not always going to find ourselves in a safe,
Yeah.
quote unquote, environment in terms of, allowing the body to relax. And perhaps we're eating a meal and we have a bunch of stuff going on and we're on our phone and we have a work thing coming up or whatever. And we're not really digesting our food because we're really split in multiple directions
Yeah.
and we're spread really thin or we're just not in our bodies. And it's like, how can we create a safe and nourishing space from that doesn't depend on our external environment but our internal environment? And
Yes.
that I feel like is where meditation and grounding, it doesn't have to be like, sitting with your eyes closed in, with crossed legs and that sort of
Burning
stereotype.
incense. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to be like a spiritual guru. You
Yeah.
just have to be like, you have to be willing, it actually even a more advanced meditation practice is to be able to stand, in the center of the train and be like, okay, I'm safe right now. I'm taking some breaths. Like there's nothing harming me, what's going on directly in front of me right now versus the story that I'm telling myself. Like
Yes.
what's actually happening?
Right.
What's the situation? Am I in danger? If not, great. You're safe, you're fine, and moving forward from there. So yeah, certainly practice that.
I love, love, love that. Yeah. Especially before eating. It seems like such an obvious thing. It's so funny how quick we are to like turn on the TV, have our phone in our hands, and just be like shoving stuff in our mouth. And it's like, wait, yeah, like that that's probably really not good for digestion. Like taking
Totally.
breaths, being like, what am I about to do? I think, yeah, so much of it I feel like comes down to being intentional. And I think we live in like this very like cringeworthy society of like, that's so like weird. And so it's like we can place judgment on ourselves for feeling like this is important what I'm about to do, even if I'm like just eating like a sandwich from Subway, right? It's like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It's like this is gonna be your energy and your fuel and it's, you know, what you need the rest of the day. So just like I don't know, allow your body to be ready and honor it, I guess. I don't know.
Absolutely. And I want to go back to something you said earlier, which is like trying to, I think a lot of people during COVID, right? We turn there are so many reasons that we turn to food, right? It's
Yeah.
not really it's like hunger, for example. What really is hunger, right? Is it emotional hunger? Like do you need to feel something? Do you need to is it physical hunger, right? Of course, we need to fuel our bodies. Is it hunger for like sensation? Like, do we want to eat to like feel physically something happening?
Right.
Like, could we, if we find ourselves like, the midnight snack, like the witching hour vibes, where we're
Yes.
like, oh my God, I just need to eat something right now because like I'm having the impulse to do so.
Yeah.
Like, can you like take a really deep cleansing breath? Can you take a
Mm,
bath, right? Can you have like
right.
some kind of other sensation happening in the body and can
Yeah.
you satisfy the craving that way rather than turning to, some people turn to food, some people turn to alcohol, some
Hmm.
and what have you. But it's like are you craving like sensation? What kind of hunger is that? Like and
Right.
and being able to have the ability to understand that and take the moment before to slow down and ask yourself that. Because
Yes.
I think in those moments we're like fiending, right? We're like
Yes.
ready to get after it. But it's like, okay, what's really going on right now? And then moving forward and being like, okay, maybe I didn't need to, maybe I took a bath instead of reaching for the bottle of wine,
Right.
or maybe I didn't need to eat like 17 cookies. I could just have this really sensational experience with one cookie
Right.
and really not feel guilt and just enjoy it and honor it and move on.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I love how you bring that up too, especially like late at night. I think that's a very common craving time, especially for like women and our
Mhm.
hormones before bed of like, ooh, something sweet. And obviously, like I've got a lot to work on. I gave in a lot today, but I will say, like 3 nights this week, we had sweets in the house, and I was like, I just really want something, and I was like, but you also want to go to sleep, you know? So like, how can we
Mhm.
honor like you wanting something sweet, but also like you have to get up early for work? So I just made like tea, but I put like a good heaping spoon of like honey in it, and like it was
Love
perfect.
it.
I was like, it was relaxing. There was like herbs in there that I liked, and like I still felt like it was like a weird moment of like I was like cherishing and honoring myself, even though it was just tea. Like
Yes.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, showing up for yourself there.
yes.
And then sometimes, like I said, sometimes you even know, right? Okay, I'm doing this because I'm going through something. And then
Mm-hmm.
you just choose to do it anyway and you say, "Okay, that's my choice."
Yes,
But finding other ways to show up for yourself and saying like talking to yourself like, "Okay, sweetie, like I know today was hard, like you know, what do you need right now? Is it some tea? Can we have this really deep, juicy experience with tea? Or do we need to have, a cookie or can we take a bath? So all of those things and being able to slow down is really the key because whether or not you do choose to still do it,
yeah,
right? You have that choice and it's an intentional choice.
yes, yes. I love that. Oh, I really like that. I think this is kind of interesting. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I just like the idea of this of like a cultural aspect, right? Like cultural competence,
Mm.
some people call it, of like how do you ensure cultural competence when it comes to recommending holistic health practices that may have like roots in various traditional or spiritual
Mm.
systems? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Totally. That's an amazing question. Hmm. I feel that okay, this is bringing up something else that you said before, which is let's say that I'm working with a client who is working through some food struggles and they totally lost their connection with their hunger and fullness cues, and they don't know, what's good or bad to eat, and they just lost all the trust, right? Something that I might say to them would be, what kind of food did your family make, or do you have any cultural experience with food that feels really special for you, right? what
Yes.
what do you like what food do you enjoy?
Right.
What food brings that feeling of home to you? And then moving forward with moving from that client's experience and allowing them to share that. And then we base sort of the plan or the goal
Mm-hmm.
on how are you reconnecting with your own cultural background to create safety in your body and honor that experience from your childhood and bring, some feeling of your family and your culture into your wellness practice. That's one interesting point that brought up. Um, I would say it is tricky to, something like yoga or Ayurveda, right? These things that we practice now in our Western society. I manage a yoga studio. That's like my job
Cool.
that I do that's not coaching. And we talk a lot about, like, if I'm hiring a teacher or something, we'll talk a lot about, how we can honor the practice as not just like white women working out, right?
Yes.
And
Yep.
how, yeah, it's like it's so far beyond that. And yet, our society kind of has deemed yoga this exclusive clique, right? Of like white women wearing Lululemon working out.
Yeah.
And how can we, yeah, how can we honor the spiritual practice and all of the branches of what yoga is,
Mm-hmm.
and also practice it in our society, which kind of views it as, and it kind of everywhere you go, it's like, okay, am I cool enough to be like part of this, right? Do I
Right.
fit in here? Do I look good enough? Am I wearing the right outfit? Am I flexible enough? And it's like, okay, so that's not what it's about at all.
Yeah. Right.
you know but that brings that up for me too. Just I think constantly being aware of that, and allowing, for example, in my coaching, allowing the client to sort of lead the way in terms of what kinds of things are we bringing in,
Mm-hmm.
and how can I, not project my own background onto you, but how can you kind of bring what's special for you, and we'll work through that and work on that and incorporate those things. Yeah, does that answer your
Absolutely.
question?
No, it's
Okay.
it's a great answer, especially I was a little curious. I mean, not for you specifically, but I find like so often when I'm trying to like get healthy or like lose weight, it's like these very
Hmm.
weird whitewashed recipes of just like boiled chicken and steamed vegetables and like nothing else. And I
Hmm.
remember reading an article a couple of years ago about specifically like the Mexican community being like, our food is really fucking healthy. Like, stop
Yeah.
telling us to eat boiled chicken and like flavorless stuff. Like, we eat very like high protein, very healthy grains and carbs, and like our spicy, delicious, amazing salsa like protects our immune
Oh yeah.
system. Like, and like, we're from California. Like, I'm assuming you did as well. Like, we grew up eating like really good Mexican food. And so
Oh,
it
totally.
was just
Yeah.
so crazy how like even when it came down to food in our country, there was such like a race aspect, in terms of what even health was when it came to like different cultures and food. So I love that you bring that up of like, what did you grow up eating? American food is just like fast food, so it's like odds are
It's
if you're not from America, you're probably already eating a lot healthier than healthier, quote unquote, more than Americans, but it's like I love that. I think you
yeah.
answered that very well. Just like being aware, like a lot of these answers have been, which I love, is like honoring and being intentional about the work that you do and that we as individuals do when we're moving through the world, right? So great answer.
Yeah, the awareness. Yeah, the intentionality and awareness behind that. And also, like, to go, to touch on what you said about like the Mexican culture and their cuisine. It's like, I mean, I don't think people realize how many nutrients we require to properly detoxify,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Detox is about like abundance and like, a lot of different colors and textures and herbs and spices. And it's like that is like such a huge element of health,
Mm-hmm.
right? And making this bland meal that doesn't have any like phytonutrients and it doesn't have any color or texture or these amazing like antioxidant rich herbs and spices that we really need to
Mm-hmm.
properly detoxify our bodies.
Yeah,
Like we're missing the point too with all of that.
right.
So yeah, and not even mentioning the fact that our bodies have like an ancestral background of what really supports and agrees with us,
Wow,
and
yes.
perhaps you're eating the wrong thing. Like not one diet is going to be exactly supportive and perfect for every single person, right? We need to get in touch with our roots and say, what did my ancestors eat? What is my body made to be eating, right? And how can I honor that in the society that I live in today, and also have a lot of fun with that and make it sort of like make it about me connecting back with my instrument, my family, and my culture, and then being really well on top of that. So, yeah,
That's
for sure.
so cool, dude. I've never thought about that too, like ancestrally, right? It's like, yeah, it's like thinking of
Mhm.
it like genetics and our bodies and our health
Yeah.
things. It's like, yeah, I don't even think about that with food of like, what did they eat? How does that affect how we eat? That's really a really cool perspective, really cool thing to think about with all of this. I think the last question, sort of in regards to all of this, would be I think just because I'm curious, can you talk a little bit about like how, if at all, you incorporate these like different kinds of herbal remedies into nutritional guidance and like how you determine like which herbs are appropriate for individual clients, if that is a thing?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. I am a huge fan of herbs. I love tea. I love infusions. I love like incorporating, Stefano and I grow our own herbs in our community garden, and we have a balcony which we grow our own herbs on, in the spring and summer. And that is such an exciting and like abundant way to add flavor and texture and like just excitement to your meal, right? Like getting all these different colors in there, and they all have these incredible medicinal properties as well. So we make our own tea blends. So
Cool.
we get organic herbs and we blend our own like infusions, and we love it. It's really creative for us and it's fun. And so, yeah, we certainly do our own teas and we love that. And depending on, I think, for example, with my skin, I was really interested in the detox pathways
Mm-hmm.
and trying to eliminate any like sluggishness there. And I think it can be tricky sometimes with herbs because, let's say detox, for example, there's multiple phases of detox, and we don't want to back up one phase. Like we don't want to flush through one phase and then back up the second because it
Mm.
can add. Does that make sense? So
Yes.
you have to be mindful and careful. And of course, if you are looking to get herbal recommendations, you would want to go to like a clinical herbalist, someone who has studied this in a clinical environment,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody who practices that. But for us, we, get excited about herbs in food, in meals, and then blending our own teas and having fun with that and focusing on sort of an intention behind the blend.
Yes.
And then, so if it's detox, right, we have like certain herbs for detox. If it's, you know, calming, sleepy time with a hint of like digestive aid, we'll do that. And it's just a fun way to support the body, get a lot of nutrients in. And like you said, have this really romantic, enchanting experience with like, fragrant steam on your face. And it's a ritual, and it can be this beautiful, you can make it like a witchy ritual. And yeah, it's about connecting with the earth.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. I love that. I love that. It's funny you said something that I think I always make the mistake of like within my own like witchy practice or like having like multiple books on herbalism that I'm like, I think with OCD or ADHD, it's easy to get like hyper fixated on like, I want to make changes.
Mhm.
And then I get like a bunch of different herbs and a bunch of different things.
Mhm.
And I'm like, this one will be good for my skin. This one will be good for losing weight. This one will be good for my bladder. And it's like, I just take it all at once. And then I'm like, oh, I don't
Yes.
feel well. And it's like, no, it's like you have to be intentional and like kind of choose so that you're
Yes.
not, like you said, like blocking pathways or like mixing things up too much. You know, it's like, it is medicine, right? It is like medicine. Like you can't just like take everything all at once.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. And supplements too. I mean, I
Yeah.
could talk for like a million days about supplements, but supplements too, they're not really regulated. So you have to be really, that's a great opportunity, right, to work with a coach on, I have these couple things going on and I'm looking for a supplement that will support this part of my body or this part of my wellness journey, and being really selective, being really careful, and just educating yourself and finding a really trustworthy brand
Mm-hmm.
that is tested for heavy metals and glyphosate and just like stuff that you don't want to be taking. People put fillers in things,
Yeah.
and there are so many mainstream supplements and like green juice powders that are causing a lot of inflammation because they have all these fillers and people don't really know,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So it's important to like you said, be educated, not just flush your body with all this stuff, because the liver has to break that stuff down too.
Right.
And just being mindful of that and treating your body with respect and being intentional about it, for sure.
Okay.
Oh, hey there, listeners. Courtney here with Jaunty Hans. Sorry to interrupt this paid programming, JK, this programming, to recommend some podcasts that you should listen to and that you should check out. These are creators who I have done some interviews with and spoken with, and their shows are awesome. So, first show is the Red Treehouse podcast. This is your official invitation to join Will in the Red Treehouse, where he'll tell you the creepiest, eeriest, and most terrifying tales to keep you up at night. And along the way, you'll be challenged to consider what you believe. Does the paranormal and supernatural really exist, or is it a figment of an overactive imagination? I mean, we know what I think, but episodes release twice each week and can be found wherever you stream podcasts. It's a scary world out there. Let's explore it together in the Red Treehouse. So guys, check out the Red Treehouse podcast. Another one is Arcane Carolinas. Check out Arcane Carolinas for an informed but fun-spirited look at the verifiable history and science behind stories about ghosts, cryptids, UFOs, and plain old weird stuff. Their research methods have turned up enough surprising information about the origins of lore that the Arcane Carolinas books have been preserved in state archival libraries. Arcane Carolinas is available on all major podcast services. Do you question reality? Are you drawn to UFOs, time slips, premonitions, or the mysteries of consciousness? Then you need to check out the Close Encounters Club podcast. Hosted by Justin Gearhart, a skeptic with an open mind, Close Encounter Club features real people sharing their encounters with the unexplainable. He's joined by his producer Josh, chiming in from Australia with his own curious takes. They also bring on scientists and experts who are actually trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So, if you've ever stared at the sky and felt like something was staring back, this one's for you. Search Close Encounter Club wherever you get your podcasts. Tell them Jaunty sent you. Another one to check out is Opening Kill. Opening Kill is the new podcast that covers the terrifying world of horror films. From the latest movie news to an in-depth look at a featured film and a peek at the chilling horror films to come, Opening Kill has you covered. Whether it's gore, suspense, or supernatural thrills, Opening Kill is the ultimate horror deep dive. Hosted by Brian O'Connor and Michael Duran. Listen to Opening Kill on your favorite podcast platform every Thursday. And also Believing in the Bizarre podcast. Also, guys, Hidden in the Shadows podcast, another great one. And just for funsies, just to shout it out there, maybe they'll hear one day, maybe I'll meet them, I don't know. My favorite all-time fun, spooky paranormal podcasts are, of course, Spooked by Snap Judgment, A Funny Feeling podcast with Betsy and Marcy, and Ghosted by Roz Hernandez. So just some fun recommendations for you guys. I love to boost and promote other podcasts that I resonate with. If you want a shout out, please reach out. I'd love to spread the word. Anyway, back to the show.
Yeah.
That did lead to one more question and sort of maybe like advice, right? Before we jump into more spooky dooky. Can you give maybe like 3 to 5 tips for folks who maybe are in a place that, you know, I'm currently in, but hoping to graduate out of? I think a lot of us are right now, though, of like, hey, times are tough. The economy's hard, right? Like, money's difficult. And I personally see ads and things for all these like green powders and crazy things and all these like health blah blah blah, and I've been hearing about how there are fillers in vitamins and like supplements, and I'm like, should I stop buying them? Like, I just feel very flustered and confused by what we see in content all the time. So like, if
Yeah.
I'm just like going to the grocery store and I want to do good for my body or good for myself in terms of what I'm going to prepare for a meal, do you have like 3 to 5 tips on like what I could do? Does that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So similar to what we were talking about before in terms of the body as one holistic instrument, let's
Mm-hmm.
say, if you are eating all the right things and you are in a toxic relationship, let's say, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is, you will not feel well and you'll probably be inflamed, right?
Right.
Because your nervous system is experiencing a lot of stress. And I think that's the same with, you know, we can be getting all these really, you know, exciting supplements that feel like, oh, this is the answer to my
Right.
prayers. I'm going to take this and I'm going to, you know, some people have weight loss goals. Oh, I'm going to lose 50 pounds on this, or I'm going to, you know, I'm going to take this thing and my allergies are going to go away, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And like I said before, it's usually not the one thing, right? It's the all encompassing, the practices that you incorporate every single day. It's the
Right.
trust that you have for your body. It's the safety that you create. And it's the decision making skills that we have to have, that intentionality behind, okay, I'm going to eat a meal now. I'm going to digest this. I'm going to be safe in this moment. I'm going to, or, you know, I'm going to seek out a more supportive sensation
Mm-hmm.
than stuffing my face at midnight or whatever,
Right.
right? So that's an amazing question because I think that a lot of us are missing the foundational tools
Right.
and we're reaching for the stars. We're
Yes.
reaching for all these exciting things that are kind of sexy and that feel like, oh, this is going to change everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, what happens if you go back to the very basics and say, how can I get, you know, how can I get enough protein in this meal? How can I incorporate some healthy fats that I really enjoy? How can I support my body with a grain that is not going to be inflammatory for me? And
Mm-hmm.
how can I add exciting flavors and make myself excited to eat this? And going back to the very basic practices of, it doesn't need to be crazy. It doesn't need to be the best thing you ever ate. It doesn't need to be this really sexy, you know, $500 supplement.
Yeah.
It's about balancing your blood sugar. It's about, you know, not exposing yourself to blue light until midnight. It's about
Mm-hmm.
feeling safe in the body. It's about eating 3 meals a day, you know, and really practicing like that structure and that consistency
Mm.
and that those consistent practices. So reaching for things that are whole, that are
Yes.
not packaged,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
That's a huge start. Yeah, reaching for things that are whole, not getting too fixated on all the sexy supplements that you're seeing, but really getting back to the basics and focusing on 3 meals a day. Yeah, not stressing like, you know, of
Yeah.
course we want to buy organic vegetables. If it's too expensive, just get the regular one. It's fine, you
Right.
know? It's okay. It doesn't need to be the best thing, the most impressive meal, the most, you know, expensive. It just, you need to, yeah, you need to support your nervous system in that way too.
Right.
Like we can't always make it perfect. It's okay. And just focusing on the basic, the foundations,
Yeah.
and then getting excited about investing in your wellness in
Mm-hmm.
those more niche ways after that's established. Because likely, you know, whomever is listening to this, you're going to feel so much better, right?
Yes.
When you just have the foundations down.
Right.
And then you'll know those specific pain points that you need to address and then get some education on those and do some research and then make that intentional choice. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Absolutely. No, I think you've given me and the listeners a lot to think about today, which in a world that seems very daunting when it comes to healthcare, self care, and food and like diet choices. And like, you know,
Mhm.
again, in the current system and society that we're living in, it feels a little reckless to be spending, $100 to $300 a month on supplements, right? And whoever can afford to do that, great. That's go you,
Yeah.
but like even just thinking now of like a tips, thinking now of what we've been saying of like, okay, like, yeah, right. Those things we forget about, like watching the blue light, being intentional, taking some breaths before I eat. And even if I, can't make like an Erewhon type $48 dinner for myself from the store,
Yeah.
if I buy, something with protein, like some chicken or salmon or whatever that is on sale, and then like some greens and some whatever, and then I put like a sauce I really like on it, and I don't have to
Yeah.
feel guilty about what I spent or what I eat. It just, anyway, I think what you've been saying is great of like going back to basics and knowing that it's so many components of what's going to feel good for your digestion. It's not just like the actual food you're putting in,
Oh yeah, it's not. Yeah, we wish it was about the food because that would be so freaking easy, but it's really not always. It's so much deeper than that. It's like
Yes.
all things. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, Caroline. Can you just tell the listeners sort of what you offer, where they can find you, how to reach out to you, and then we'll get to some more spooky ooker stuff.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I'm a holistic health coach. I can be found on Instagram at Caroline Health and Healing. I think that's my handle. Seriously, don't even know.
I'll put it in the show notes. I'll double check.
Okay. Okay, good. Yeah. So I have my own personal Instagram, but most of my like coaching and like witchy stuff and nutrition and all of the wellness things, that's on, I think it's Caroline underscore health and healing, I believe. Um I also have a website, um, Caroline Whelehan Health Coach. So you can find me there too. Buy the fun herbal blends that my partner and I make from all organic herbs. Uh, and yeah, I offer individual one on one health coaching for anyone who's ready to start the work that's going to make them feel and look their best,
Oh, that's
honestly.
great. That's really
Yeah.
great. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Part of yourself and your business. And like I said, I think that a lot of people can get a lot from it. So this has been an incredible conversation
Thank
in
you.
regards to this. But now I want to jump back to your witchy, spooky, oogie roots and talk about, we've talked about a little bit spirit, a little bit alien, kind of your beliefs. You're very open. Can you share one or any or all of a time you've experienced something that you couldn't explain?
Yes. Okay. Oh my gosh. I'm holding my crystals now because I usually don't talk or listen to spooky stuff in my house because I've
Yes.
had experiences where, oh boy. It's funny, Courtney,
Oh
because
no.
so when I was listening to one of your episodes and hearing about all of your LA experiences, and
Yes.
LA is spooky, dude. It is so
I'm
spooky.
glad you're
Like,
saying this. Yeah.
do you feel that way too? Like, were your experiences heightened in LA?
I don't know if I would say they were heightened, but I think something about Los Angeles that a lot of people I've heard say, which I very much agree with, is like there is such a like a captivating energy. I mean, obviously, like, I hate to use that word because we're going straight to like Hollywood glamour, blah blah blah, but that's not what I mean.
Mhm.
It's like
Yeah.
there's a reason why like the most like cults in the world like happen in LA, right? Like
Hmm.
there's just
Hmm.
something very much, I think people move there with a lot of desperation. And I think that desperation to be whatever anyone wants them to be or rise and have their chance, have their fame, have their, you know what I mean? Like that desperate energy has been there for like 100 years of just like, please choose me, choose me. And it's like created this sort of dome of like, yikes energy. You know what I
It's
mean?
dark. It's
Yeah.
dark energy.
It's
Yeah.
weird.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. So I I haven't had a ton of spooky, creepy experiences personally,
Mm-hmm.
but when I was living in LA, I was listening to this podcast and it was like a, 3 hour paranormal, like it was like, some really spooky thing that it really, I had lived in New York for a couple of years at that point and then moved back to California and was living in LA. And New York is so lively. I don't ever feel like it's not like dead silent in New York.
Right.
It's not like the streets are empty
Right.
usually, right? And so I think when I was in LA and I was living in this apartment and it was freaky. So I had listened to this podcast and I was listening to it in my room, which is why I now no longer do that. I don't bring it into my space. And I started to feel a dark energy. Like, who knows, Courtney, what this was?
Yeah.
I was scared. As an adult, I was scared.
Yeah.
I was sleeping with the lights on, okay? Every night. I could not fall asleep. I was feeling that there was something in my room.
Oh
I was feeling
no.
that there was a darkness, a dark energy. I was living at the time with my friend Cheyenne, she is very spiritual and she definitely sees spirits for
Cool.
sure.
Okay.
And she came into my space because I was like, shy. I did something bad. I messed up. I brought this
Oh
energy,
yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't know what's going on. And she's like, okay, babe, I'm gonna cleanse the space. So she had her sage. She's Native American. Okay. So talk about, she culturally, she knows what she's
Yeah, she
doing.
knows what
She
she's
went in
doing.
there, she knows. She said, there is an energy attached to this drawing that my friend Mayami did of me. It's like a drawing that it was like she did it just from memory of, as women we see each other naked or whatever. She just drew this like naked woman laying, no face or anything, but she was like, this is you, this is my image of your beautiful body. I'm celebrating you, whatever. So she gave this to me and I was like, oh my God, this is gorgeous. I'm putting this up in my room. And whatever darkness was in my room, Cheyenne says, this is attached to
Oh.
this drawing. So I was like, oh my God. And I was like, crying. Like I was really scared, Court. It was like,
Yeah.
and probably it may also have been some of my own, I really have OCD. I really fixate on things. I have, intrusive thoughts and I get scared. Like,
Yes.
I was on this, right? So she cleanses the space and I remember one morning I was sleeping. I had my face mask on, my eyes, right? My eye mask when I was sleeping.
Yeah.
It was the pandemic. So it was probably like kind of late, right? It was like 9:30, 10 or something. And, you know, I was feeling a little better. I wasn't feeling quite as scared. It was probably a couple weeks later. And for the first time in my life, I felt a spirit touch me. Okay. So, right now, do me a favor, take your hand, put it on your thigh, and just apply a little bit of pressure.
No, stop.
That, yes. I was laying on my side and I felt I actually felt whomever this was sit on my bed and touch my body.
No.
It was so my whole body, like I have a chill that runs through me, Court. Like I have never felt this in my life. And it sort of just melted away, like the feeling of this hand on me, this pressure. It was very comforting and gentle, but I was terrified, of course,
Yeah.
because I was really scared like during this time. I remember going home to my parents who live on the Central Coast. I was sleeping with the light on. My mom was like, okay, my adult daughter is like sleeping. Like I was scared to go to bed. It was
Yeah.
so crazy. So yeah. Anyway, my whole body got a chill. I had my eye mask on, so I couldn't see anything, right? And I was frozen. Like
Yeah.
frozen. And I don't get sleep paralysis, knock on wood. Like I don't get any of that. So this is my first time ever experiencing like truly I'm so petrified that I can't move. I
Mhm.
could have moved voluntarily, but I was so
Yes.
scared emotionally. Um yeah, that was my biggest experience of I could not explain that. I don't know who that was. I don't know. it was gentle. It was supportive. They sat next to my bed. I was laying down and sort of on my upper thigh. I was on my side. My upper thigh, they just sort of gently supported me,
Okay.
but I was super freaked out,
That
really
is
scared.
really scary. But
Mhm.
here's my question. It didn't feel like the same like dark energy that had been there. You're saying it kind of felt like something different, being like, it's okay, it's
Mhm.
gone type energy.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It
Well, that's
was.
beautiful. I
It
mean,
was. It
scary,
was.
but like a bit of confirmation from the other side that maybe whatever was rocking with Cheyenne or maybe an
Mhm.
ancestor of yours, right, was like,
Sure.
that thing is gone. You can relax, right?
It was. It was very much that. And I didn't.
Wow.
I didn't really feel that same fear really after that, even though
Okay.
I was really scared in that moment when I was like, oh my God, something is physically, there's a weight on the bed and there's a weight on my leg. Like I
Yes.
felt that. But yeah, it was beautiful. It was not malicious at all in my like energetic experience of it. I of course never saw anything, never heard anything, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was my biggest, most tangible like, whoa, that happened.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that.
Thanks so much for listening. Remember, you are not alone if you've ever heard a bump in the night or caught something out of the corner of your eye. There are countless others who experience things they can't explain. And this podcast is your safe place to listen and share. Also, I want to remind everyone that this show is for entertainment purposes. I am not a professional paranormal investigator. I did not go to school to study this. I can only speak about my firsthand experiences. And with that, I'd love to mark the importance of spiritual inclusion. Your thoughts, ideas, and theories about the other side are welcome. And we know that so much of our common knowledge and perception about the paranormal stems from historical and cultural experiences. So we are open to your knowledge and understanding of things that we may be ignorant about or not fully understand. Let's learn and grow together. Stay spooky, and we'll see you next time. Hey, ghoul friends! Got a spooky story to share? Well, I want to hear about your haunts. Whether you've seen a ghost or something unexplainable, send your supernatural experiences to us at jauntyhaunts@gmail.com. That's JAUNTYHAUNTS@gmail.com. Or DM us on Instagram at jauntyhauntspod. That's jauntyhaunts_pod. You can also find us on TikTok and YouTube under Jaunty Haunts Podcast. I want to hear from you.